What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of 31 Views. I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, talking about It Stains the Sands Red. Directed by Colin Minihan? Minihan? Alright, Minihan. This came out in, I believe, 2016? Sure? Let me check. Yeah, it came out in 2016. It was released in limited theaters in this year, 2017. And this was this was a really good movie. This was a really good movie. I really enjoyed this from start to finish. 92 minutes, not too long, and not too short. So I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed the lead, who was played by Brittany Allen. Haven't seen anything from her. Brittany Allen. Yeah, she was in a couple of shows. Yeah, so she's tremendous in this movie. So this movie centers around her, basically, mostly about her trying to get to an airfield, and so that she would catch a plane out of the country because the zombies are taking over. This is this is one of the many post-apocalyptic zombie movies going on in this generation, because can't even begin to count how many there have been. Some have been quite entertaining, but this, I feel like it went to a different direction. This was it was actually innovative in some aspects. They did do something that I haven't seen before, and I don't want to spoil anything from this movie, but I'll say this: like, at the start of the movie, Molly and her boyfriend, they they kind of their car breaks down, and a zombie appears out of nowhere, and it, it tries to attack them. They get into the car, and then her boyfriend, Nick, he drops his cell phone, and then the zombie tricks him, because he was hiding in the bushes, and then he grabs Nick and pretty much bites the hell out of him, and eats his insides. So the rest of the movie is Molly trying to get to the airfield. She's got the phone in her hand, and she would check the phone every once in a while. She would turn it off and try to save the battery as much as she can. And she's got like a bag of like Coke. And I'm not talking about soda. I'm talking about cocaine, and vodka, a packet of cigarettes, and a few bottles of water. Now, and a few protein bars. But there are moments in this movie where it's like there are a bit of goofs going on that I really thought that was kind of stupid. Because there was one moment where, it looked like, okay, she's down to her last cigarette. And then, a few scenes later, she's smoking a cigarette. I'm like, what? What's going on here? Did somebody put this movie out of order? And not just that, but there was a moment in this movie that kind of bothered me, where I was like, come on. You'll see it by the end, okay? It kind of reminded me of, like, it's something that was introduced in 28 Days Later. And it's basically when somebody gets infected, okay? When like, if a a blood cell from a zombie enters your bloodstream, then you're fucked. It's as good as being bitten. So here, it happens, and it's like, oh no, it's okay, nothing's going on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the movie. That's all I gotta say about the plot. The directing is great. There's a lot of heart to this movie, and there's also good comedy, and it's not to the point where it's like, it takes you out of the movie. No, they're done to ease you in the horror. Because if it's like horror, then it's like, what's the point? So it's separated. The horrific moments are segregated in this movie, while you have a little comedy, a little heart in between. So it's very enjoyable in that aspect, because you have so many aspects of cinema in one movie, and I really like that. I really like that in these types of movies, in like smaller movies where it centers around a single or a couple of characters, and it doesn't go too fantastical and goes overboard. It's just about these two, and it's basic, but you let everything come out through dialogue, facial expressions, and acting. That's what it's all about. I really like that. So this movie, I'll give it 3.5 stars. There's good gore, great special effects, and this movie wasn't Hollywood budget type of movie. This was actually an independent movie, and for an independent movie, the effects are done masterfully, and the acting is great. It's better than most actors going on in Hollywood right now. That's for sure. And it's the story goes along really well, and Molly, I was rooting for her. It started off with her being like this stuck up bitch, but as the movie progressed, she became more and more of a sympathetic type of character, and they implemented a few flashbacks where it was like, oh, now I get it. Now I get what she was like that, and it's understandable, and like you feel her pain, and you root for her by the end, and it's just like, oh, and whenever something happens to her, you feel for her, and you're like, oh shit, I hope she gets through this. So yeah, this movie gets 3.5 stars, like I said, and rate, comment, favorite, how, please subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with everyone, and check out my next video where I'll be talking about something else.